Tom and Dan here at Sharpening Supplies, and today we're going to be talking about sharpening steels. They're a really iconic piece of sharpening kit, and I feel like there's a little bit of confusion about what they do and how they're used. Hopefully we're going to clear that up for you today, and so let's start with the basics. So Dan, what is a steel?
Well, in the modern sense, a steel is really kind of any sharpening device that takes the form of a rod with a handle on it. Traditionally, a steel was just that, a piece of steel with a handle on it. But these days, there's ceramic, there's diamonds, and many other options now too.
Cool. Okay, so you've mentioned a couple of different types of the steels there. So what's one of those in a little bit more detail?
Sure. Well, classic steel. This is a Friedrich Dick standard cut steel. So what we have here is a very hard piece of steel, and it's got grooves cut in its length. Now, the grooves will vary. There's different cuts. A deeper groove will be a more aggressive, kind of coarser feel. Smoother, finer grooves will be finer, less aggressive, more finishing kind of tool. And this works in two ways. When we pass a knife over here, those grooves actually cut the metal like a file. So you do get little pieces of metal filings as you go over the steel. But also the steel is harder than the metal of the knife. And that hardness pushes the edge of the knife kind of back into alignment. So kind of a two-way form of keeping your edges sharp.
Right, so if you've like rolled the edge on your knife, you can push that rolled edge back.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Right.
So that would save you a little bit more time. You wouldn't have to necessarily sharpen it.
Right. This is the kind of thing a steel would traditionally be, something you'd keep where you're working.
Right.
So you could do your touch-up and your maintenance sharpening without having to go all the way back to your stuff.
So that was a steel made out of steel. But we've got a couple of other options on here. Can you tell me a little more about those?
Sure. So there's also abrasive steels, steels that use abrasive particles on a substrate. I think of these as kind of like a stone on a stick.
Okay.
Couple main types. There's diamond. So we have diamonds electroplated onto a metal substrate here. Diamonds tend to be coarser overall, but this one is a very nice new thing that we've gotten from Jewel Stick. It's actually got three faces, so it has a coarse, a medium, and a fine diamond face. So this is really handy as kind of a three-step stone that you can keep handy at your workplace and use very quickly.
Excellent.
Then there's also ceramic steels. These are ceramic material. There's not as many grit options. These tend to be very much on the finer end. They are slightly abrasive, but these are going to give you that polished kind of finish to an edge.
Excellent. So kind of little and often, just to make sure that real kind of slicey sharpness is kept there.
Exactly. These are the kind of steel that you would use before you even think you're losing cutting ability.
Right.
To kind of maintain it at its sharpest possible.
And so on that topic, how would one use one of these steels? Because, it's a pretty iconic movement, but I'm sure the movies get it wrong.
We're going to find a comfortable position to rest the steel stable. You can hold it in the air if you prefer. I usually put it down so the tip is on my work surface. I've seen some people use it like this, which works very well. I'm going to lay the knife on. I recommend maintaining the same angle that you sharpened at. And we're just going to move like we would on a sharpening stone. Now, if you're using a very aggressive steel, you would raise a burr and you could feel for the burr. A very fine steel, the burr is probably going to be so fine you won't feel it.
Right.
The opposite side, my method is to come up from underneath. Some people find the vertical position a little easier to make that motion. I strongly recommend doing this with the knife edge going away from you.
Right.
I have seen some in this motion. I'm not a fan,
Yeah.
but could work as well.
It looks like most of these steels have some sort of guard at the end of there, but you don't really want to put that to the test, I imagine.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They all have some kind of guard on here. Best not to chance it.
Excellent. Okay, great. So using it very much like you would a stone, and if you're picking one of those finer options, make sure that you're sharpening your kitchen knife regularly. Yeah, it's an excellent thing just to keep in a cutlery drawer in the kitchen, ready to use.
Absolutely, right on your knife rack. So it's there. Good way to think of a steel is every time you use the knife, you're going to give it a couple of strokes on the steel.
Excellent. Well, we have a really wide range of steels available. If you head over to sharpeningsupplies.com, or you can click the link in the description and you can check out our selection there.